This year, all eyes turn to Paris because no event captures the world's attention quite like the Olympic Games. The grand celebration of sport and human achievement creates a sense of pride and unity like no other. And here, millions of Kiwis will be glued to their screens cheering on the New Zealand team. Now, for Aotearoa's most elite athletes, the Paris 2024 Olympics will be a culmination of a lifetime of work. But what exactly does it take to get there and to be successful? Well, behind every athlete is a sophisticated ecosystem developing the next generation of Olympians and fostering our nation's Olympic legacy. This movement is led by the New Zealand Olympic Committee, who has taken more than 60 teams to Olympic and Commonwealth Games. It also includes AUT, who beyond being the official university of the NZ team at Paris 2024, has played a central role in preparing athletes through its School of Sport and Recreation, its Sport Research Institute SPRINZ, and its world-class training facility AUT Millennium. Kia ora, I'm Ashlee Tulloch, a sports broadcaster who spent close to a decade as a reporter, producer and presenter for the International Olympic Committee's Olympic Channel. And joining me to discuss New Zealand's Olympic legacy and just what it takes to become an Olympian is Nicki Nicol, the CEO of New Zealand Olympic Committee and a lifelong sports fan. Nicki.
Kia ora, Ashlee. Lovely to be here.
Great to have you. Alexis Pritchard, AUT graduate, Olympian and athlete engagement lead with the New Zealand Olympic Committee.
Kia ora.
I love how many hats you wear. I can't wait to talk more about that. And from AUT, former directors of SPRINZ, Lesley, Ferkins and Professor Andrew Kilding. Great to have you with us.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Kia ora.
Well, no more haere, let's jump into it. Nicki, oh my goodness, Paris is so close. I have so many thoughts and feelings about it, but you have a big job. Talk to me about the role of the NZOC supporting the New Zealand team athletes at this campaign, at this Olympics.
Yeah, so Ashlee, it's lovely to be here, and we've got the Olympics coming up soon, and really the big focus for us is all the preparation. And then when we get to Paris, it's how we support the team. We create the best environment for the athletes to do their best. So lots of preparation at the moment. We've been planning this for at least 4 years, and we're right in the selection, last bit of logistics and planning, and looking forward to supporting the team when they get there.
I can only imagine how many flights you and your team have taken over to Paris to kind of do recons and to have a look at facilities and things as well.
Yes, definitely. We've done lots of preparation. The first couple of years were impacted by COVID, so we had a bit of a late start, but certainly the Paris Organising Committee have done a great job. We've been out, we've seen the facilities, we've been through the village, and we look forward to supporting the team.
Alexis, you have worn many hats. You continue to wear many hats, but as someone who has been an AUT graduate, who's also been an Olympian, because once you're an Olympian, you're always an Olympian. There's no former Olympian, is there? But also now as an advocate, as the engagement lead, what does that look like? What does that mean your role is supporting these athletes now?
My role now supporting our athletes is to ensure that their needs are met, the environment is set up that we are looking after and taking care of their well-being as human beings, as well as a space that feels safe for them to go out onto the world stage and do their thing. It's about creating that grounding environment at games time. And before that, the conversations are about what is working well for you right now? Where can we help? What is the gap? And then figuring out how we do that. Yeah.
I feel like they say that raising a baby takes a village, but I think probably supporting an Olympian and an Olympic team is like takes a village as well, right?
It absolutely takes a village to create an Olympian. I'm just thinking of like my journey to the Olympic Games. It was my sport, but it was my community around me and my parents, my coaching, the members of the gym, they helped to create an Olympian. And then for me, the NZOC actually was one of the most special organisations as an athlete. It was the first place in my athlete career that I felt that I was valued. Wow. And had a voice. And so the NZOC is always going to have a really special place in my heart, because that's what I think the organisation does for athletes. Is like, you are valued, we care for you, and we're going to do whatever we can to make this journey over the next 2.5 weeks the best. for you.
It's beautiful, and it's not just those 2.5 weeks or so. There's so much that goes into it beforehand, and that's what I love about your partnership with AUT. And you guys are respectfully sort of busy beavers behind the scenes as part of this phenomenal network helping talk or support the work that the NZOC are doing. Can you talk, Lesley, a little bit about, I guess, the Sport and Recreation Department and what AUT is doing to, I guess, be a part of this movement and to support what the NZOC are doing with their athletes and teams?
Sure thing. So we feel incredibly fortunate to have such a close relationship with the NZOC. We really do work with and for and alongside in so many different ways. To start with, just to give you a sense of the size and scope of the Sport and Rec school within AUT. So AUT has 23,000 students. The School of Sport and Rec is one of 20 odd schools within the university. We are a relatively large school, and it's just Sport and Rec. We have about 1,500 students in the undergraduate program and about 200 students in our postgraduate and research program. We've got about 60 to 80 staff and facilities, and so it's a decent sized contribution to developing the knowledge well of sport performance in New Zealand, but also to develop the workforce, which is the education and research elements. And we don't, of course, do that in isolation. We do that in a very connected way, and NZOC are one of our key partners in so many different facets. We've got a range of different programs that we work with them on that I can explain a lot more, but you might want to go on to him.
No, but it's fascinating, isn't it? When you really start diving into this subject, you realise that there are so many people who care so deeply, and what we see on our screens, when people are crossing the finish line and we think, wow, that's fantastic, or someone's winning a game. There's so much more that takes to get to that point, and I feel like, Andrew, this is where I'd love to talk to you about numbers. Are you a bit of a numbers man?
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to me a bit about, I guess, the sports science and the impact that is having, or the potential for what it can do to help, I guess, support the wealth of knowledge, I think the well you were saying, and I guess the pathway that is being created to help support these athletes.
Yeah, I think that kind of knowledge and driving new techniques, new technologies, the sports science in my field certainly plays a role in trying to get the most out of athletes. Athletes are getting faster, stronger, and how we can help our students and help our staff kind of interact with high performance sport and NZOC to help them compete with some other very competitive nations on the world stage.
What gives Kiwis the edge? Because I think, is it fair to say we do punch above our weight, right? That's not just a thing that we say. People do believe that, yeah?
That's true. When you look at all the metrics on the world scale, I
just think we take so much pride in doing so much with so little. Yeah, in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, what do you guys think it is from a sort of an education and governance side of view? Where are we making an impact? Why are we able to sort of to keep punching above our weight?
I think, we invest well and with targeted investment, and we get the right people around the athletes holistically. And obviously, my sports science is just one element of that support team that's around an athlete, and so all the other areas added up, it just helps contribute to that growth and development. And we're passionate about sport here in New Zealand, so I think all those things added together, we get good results.
I think we've got a really a magic mix on the world stage of the social investment, the economic investment, and the social and economic valuing of sport in New Zealand. And we combine those things really well. And if I was to say what is it that we have in terms of our secret sauce on the world stage, I would say two things. The first thing I would call out is what NZOC have done incredibly well, and they are one of the leading sport organisations in New Zealand to do it. It's 20 years or plus old, and it's the Te Ao Māori integration of what it is that they do, so pulling together the Te Ao Māori values. Po Tangata is the program that these guys can speak beautifully about. 2004 was the first time that it kind of really got called out at Athens, and it's the real secret sauce of, I think, looking kind of slightly externally of New Zealand performance, and these guys can speak a bit more to it. But I think that's one of the things that that I think gives us a competitive advantage. that we bring our Indigenous values and we use that to unify and represent ourselves on the world stage in a way that New Zealanders are incredibly proud of. And the other secret sauce, I think, is that we're very integrated. We kind of seamlessly move through community sport and recreation for health and well-being, all the way up to high performance and the shiny things, and back and forth. We don't separate out, we don't just fund HP, we don't just invest in community. We have a very integrated system, and that is, NZOC is one of the players in that, and we have a number of different agencies that really work hard to integrate that, the seamless transition between.
Do you think part of that is because we have, compared to countries like USA, we have a lack of resources in terms of they have so much, so we kind of have to do that Kiwi ingenuity number 8 wire thing where we go, you know what, no one's going to do it for us, and we have to all be a part of the process.
Absolutely, it's the team of 5 million. You heard that recently. Before that, it was called the Stadium of 4 million. Martin Sen, the CEO of New Zealand, the World Cup, Rugby World Cup, galvanised New Zealand behind us hosting the World Cup in 2011. That is what we do, have done, and will do with the Olympics coming.
I think the other thing too is the legacy. So, we've got over 100 years of athletes competing on the world stage, wearing the silver fern with pride. And I think that for me also is something that really forms an emotional connection to the team. And I think that's, we have amazing athletes who are ambassadors for New Zealand. And I think what our role is to support all, roughly 200 of them, and they're all 200 individual stories, which are inspirational in their own right. They're all so diverse, but actually when they all come together, it's something really special.
And they've all got an auntie so-and-so or a lawnmower man, neighbour, whoever, who's rooting for them, and it doesn't matter if you're from, dare I say, Putaruru or anywhere, you could be from Wellington, you can be from Auckland, you can be from anywhere in this country, but there are people rooting for you, isn't it? I mean, did you feel that? Is that something that you felt when you went to the Olympics in London 2012?
I knew New Zealand was behind me. They want you to do well, and they're proud of you, whatever the result is, which feels good. And I think the NZOC does that really well too.
I don't mean to jump in, but at the same time, when you say whatever the result, does that allow athletes, do you think, to go in with a sense of whatever I do, I'm not going to be a failure because my best is going to be okay?
Yeah, you have 10,500 athletes going to Olympics who are all gunning to do their very best, and they are going to be people that are first, and they are going to be people that are 12th or 50th. And we have to remember that it's 10,500. You are the world's best going over. So, we all want to win gold. However, someone's not going to win gold, and just knowing that you have the country behind you, recognizing that you are doing your best, and they will be proud of you no matter what, feels really good.
It makes me wonder, Andrew, do you have conversations with athletes where they're talking about what their goals and their version of success looks like? Because, for all of us, even just sitting here, our versions of success are so different. For one person, it might be gold or nothing. But for other people, with respect, it's just like, oh my goodness, I get to wear the silver fern and I get to turn up on the start line and be an Olympian. Is that a conversation you have with athletes? Even when you're talking about numbers, it's not about the end result, it's about getting the best numbers they can achieve? Yeah,
that word potential, isn't it? It's that word, that succeeding with your own goals, irrespective of what other people are doing. And that's quite hard when you go to Olympics because people associate success with the medal. But you can go to an Olympic and finish 16th, but have a personal best by quite a substantial amount. So I think we just need to kind of balance those two things up, especially with our young athletes, who it might be their first Olympics. Giving them the exposure and development. It might be another 2 Olympic Games before we see them on the podium. So I think we just need to be patient, but acknowledge some athletes go there for potential performance enhancement.
Yeah.
I was just going to add, yes, I think it's a really important thing to note that everyone's going to go with their own definition of success, and it might be winning, it might be this particular time, or it might be I want to compete with X, Y, and Z feeling. And so it could be, as a boxer, it was like, for me, it was like, can I compete with courage? Can I be assertive? And can I fight fearlessly? Can I embrace uncomfortable? And doing those things allowed me to get to the result I wanted, but I could not focus on the result. I had to focus on the how, the process.
The process. I love that.
And so, that was the thing. Was I successful at my process? And everyone's process is going to be obviously look differently, but I think that definition of success is important in thinking about what is success.
And no one's path is linear as well, is it? There's always bumps in the road.
And I think, what you've described personally, for me, I think we've been able to embed it culturally into our sporting system. And, calling out AUT, I think we've played a role in educating those that go into the sports sector to value beyond the win. So why is it that we want to win? And it's not just to win, it's because of, the process toward winning, and then the things that, that occur after winning. So, the AUT Millennium, the logo, the catch line is be the best you can be. Yeah. And that, that's kind of a phrase, but it's, if you think about that and break that down, that's what Alexis had just described. It's
much more holistic than the actual performance.
Correct. And that's absolutely critical. And New Zealand athletes exude that on the world stage. You think about the All Blacks, great people make great All Blacks. It's about the great people first, then they'll make the great All Blacks. It's not about winning as much as, of course it's there, right? But I think we've been able to weave that into our cultural psyche within the sports system and beyond.
Because I think, it's sometimes easy, I think, being a bystander on the sidelines, people forget that these people are humans. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes we forget ourselves that we're humans. And, so...
Super Lex.
Failure is not an option, but no, failure makes champions. It teaches you lessons.
Can I respectfully, when you say that, do you intrinsically believe it? Because you hear things like this and you think, oh gosh, it's hard when things are tough. So when you talk about, what was the sentence? Failure builds success.
For me, that's one of the things that I believe. I look at my failures as lessons, and none of the things that didn't go well, I believe, are failures. They're just ways of not doing it, and they build my success. So I guess it's your perspective on what a failure is. For me, it's a lesson, and it's a building block. It's like Thomas Edison. With a light bulb, he just figured out 10,000 ways not to do it. And so I figured out 10,000 ways not to, not how to move my head or whatever it is. And then eventually I figured out the right way.
Man, how good did it feel when you got it right?
It was so good. It took me a very long time. What I actually had to do was think about being elusive. That was the word. So it wasn't about move your head. It was be elusive. Anyway, that's
so
details.
Many great words, though. No, but it's fascinating, isn't it? Being able to dive into the different shoes of different people who are, I guess, supporting this ecosystem. Because it's one thing to be the person wearing the fern, but there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. Andrew, from a physiological point of view, what do you think makes an Olympian?
What a question that is,
That's a big question.
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about an Olympian, we've got to acknowledge there that there are over 30 sports in the Olympics. And even within a sport, there is such a wide range of events and categories where, different physical qualities can be expressed, whether that's speed, power, strength, endurance. And we need, each sport has a unique mix of that. So from a physiological perspective, there is a sport for everybody because we're all built differently. But the ones who obviously get to the Olympics are very genetically gifted in certain aspects and put a lot of training in to kind of hone that physiology and the psychology. And Alex mentioned the kind of the mindset as well. So there's a lot of things to mix together to create an Olympian.
Is there a common denominator though? Is there something that you've gone, oh, this is what it is. This is the, you did respectfully talk about the secret sauce, but is there something, a switch, a light bulb that goes off within these unique specimens?
I mean, they're very unique, and there is a secret sauce, but I can't tell you.
You got to come to AUT to figure it out.
Right.
Oh, I love that. It's fascinating, isn't it? You just think these athletes I think everyone has ambitions in life, and some people want to be Olympians and some people want to support and flank that. Talk to me about that within your world, Nicki. Talk to me about, I guess, flanking and supporting and you know, the uffie, the love that you are providing, because your love can sometimes, I imagine, come in the form of logistical help, medical support, or just, you know, all of the things that athletes don't want to think about.
Yes, so I wasn't as genetically gifted as some. So I'm in the administration of sport, but it's a privilege to be here. And I think for us in our organisation, everyone believes it. We actually are here to support the athletes, to let the athletes do what they do best and reach their potential for that moment, for that day, you know, once every 4 years. So that has got a lot of privilege, but it's also got a lot of responsibility. So my role really is leading a fantastic team to, first of all, be able to fund the team. So we have quite a high commercial focus. About 90% of our revenue comes from the commercial market, and certainly acknowledging AUT as one of our fantastic sponsors, but also philanthropy. So we have a really awesome group of people who support the team. And I think that's sort of first and foremost what we've got to do, is to be able to fund the team to get to Paris. And then the second part is just the big logistics and operations. So, you know, we've got containers on ships at the moment. We've got doctors, physios, mental health, wellbeing specialists. We've got, you know, cultural team, as you talked about. That's been a big part of the growth of our organisation in building that muscle, because we know what we call a culture of monarchy is a little bit of that secret ingredient. And when our team turns up in the village, they stand out and are distinctive for who we are.
Not
and
just
that indigenous, and that indigenous part is such a huge part of that. And so we do know that, you know, other countries are envious of what we have, and so that's something that's really precious that we want to protect as well.
Yeah, and also there's a wonderful thing that I know the IOC have brought in for the first time, which is, I don't know what the correct terminology for it is for, but it's like a mother's space that they're going to have at the athlete village. So it's a space where people can go and take their children over certain times of the day in the non-residence area, where they can look after their children and breastfeed or whatever it might be. And so I guess these things are important, aren't they? Because they're helping athletes to take their lives to the games as opposed to take their athlete hat to the games.
Yeah, I saw that actually 2 days ago, and it's a fantastic initiative for any of the countries that do have mums, and so many countries would have mums as athletes through all different stages of their childhood, and I think it's pretty fantastic to be able to be close to your family. Takes you away from that intensity of being that athlete for a moment, and it allows you just to breathe for a little bit. And I guess that's what we're trying to do within the New Zealand team, is create that safe space for just allowing our people to be people. And when they go to training or they go to the track to do their thing, that's when they zone in to be an athlete. The rest of the time they're just chilling.
And I think the IOC, that's been driven a lot by the gender equity aspirations. So for the first time, the number of men and women competing at Paris will be equal.
How good.
So that's fantastic. And certainly from our side, we have about 50-50 men and women in our team. Our performance support team, 40 to 50% women. One of the areas we want to really focus on is coaches. So again, looking for those opportunities to be able to support women coaches in a pathway through to the Olympics. So, you know, it's always top of mind for us as well, as trying to make sure we've got the diversity from a gender, but also ethnicity. So those are things that we really, work hard to create that best environment for.
I was just also thinking about the fact that Paris in July through August is just a warm-up, and then after that's the Paralympics, you know, so it's like a really long period of your monarchy to support, and the logistics and the effort that goes behind the Paralympics, which is also that incredible celebration of, you know, that
amazing athletes. Yeah.
And not to take away from the games, because I'm a huge advocate for them, but they are just a small part of someone's career and lifespan. So, I mean, maybe with you guys first, how much do you talk about, I guess, with athletes and with students about, I guess, their legacy and life beyond what they're doing at an event, at the Olympics or competing?
Yeah, I think through my work with high performance sport, they're very aware that, you know, this is often a short-lived career, and there's a lot of time after the Olympic kind of dream is over or succeeded. So they put a lot of effort into ensuring that kind of holistic development of a person, to ensure that they can then go on to their next phase of their lives post-training and post-games. So it's not an area which I kind of work in, but I know they do put a lot of emphasis on making sure that athletes are well supported throughout their sporting career and beyond. Yeah.
And you know, one of the things I study and teach and research is the sports system and the way that our different organisations work together. And I spent some time in Australia. I noticed some Australian accents in the room before, so I'm going to be really careful what I say here. But I did live and work in Australia as well, and like it's sometimes really helpful to have a comparison to what it is that we have here. And when I spoke of the integrated nature of what we do, I also meant the way that our agencies work together. Mm-hmm. So we've got NZOC as a separate legal entity, you know, funded with support commercial and IOC, but sits right alongside High Performance Sport New Zealand, which is a government-funded agency, part of Sport New Zealand Group. You know, in Australia, those organisations I know, you know, have some competitive challenges between them. Sure, they work together, but not like the way we do in New Zealand. We have an incredibly collaborative approach to the way that we organise and deliver in our sports system from the governance and leadership point of view. So, you know, incredibly proud of the way that our lead agencies do this. And, you know, so Performance Life at High Performance Sport New Zealand is a really important program for athletes and the life after, life during and life after. And the other amazing program that NZOC run is Wahine Toa, which is a women's leadership program that they've been running since 2017, which Alexis was part of, and came back and was a facilitator for. AUT's right in there as part of that program. We bring, you know, some research and leadership, the latest leadership research development work, sitting alongside the program director Robin Coburn, and it's a beautiful example actually from our point of view of research into practice, and a really important program to look after our female athletes as they are transitioning out of their sporting performance.
And I think it keeps them connected with the sport. I think that's one of the sustaining things that we've seen from that program that you were just talking about, Lesley, is the athletes, as they've transitioned out of their career, actually still have a connection back to their sports or to the community. And I think whether that's in coaching, administration, governance, that's really important, because actually, you know, as a country, I think sport has such a huge role to play in keeping us well, you know, at a society level. So, you know, having people in that system with the experiences that they've had is just fantastic.
And it's a cycle, isn't it? You know, just because you're maybe not competing doesn't mean you don't have valuable intel and knowledge and experience that you can then support and give back, and making sure people are aware that their experience, their knowledge, what they've been through is something they can give back, and whether they can do that within the education system, whether they can do that with you guys, there are avenues, there are pathways there now, which is phenomenal. And just what you're talking about with Wahine Toa, I think at the last Olympics, did we have more success with female athletes than male athletes? Not to be competitive, sorry. But all these little things count, right? Because I think it's also, you know, we look at what happens from kids at a young age. Often it's women who are sort of falling off and leaving sport earlier. And it's phenomenal to see that research is being done to make sure we can support women to say, hey, where's it going wrong? You know, why do you not feel like you can continue playing netball or whatever it might be? And so they can continue to stay in this wonderful system of sport. I'm almost going to wrap things up, but before we do, let's touch a little bit on, I guess, the importance of the Olympics. You were just talking about how important sport is to this country. I think the Olympics is incredibly important and valuable globally to the world, but why do you think it's important?
Well, I think for us, and it aligns to our vision, which is to inspire pride and excellence in all New Zealanders. And when people see our elite athletes just doing amazing things, achieving, you know, incredible feats, I think it inspires people. It brings pride in New Zealand. And I think, you know, that's something that is an intangible thing, but it's got so much equity. And so that for us is, I suppose, the shop window. But behind that, we know there's a huge system that's supporting it, and it filters right down into our communities. And so for me, that's what makes me proud when we stand up there. We're representing New Zealand on the world stage, and we want everyone to be so proud of who we are as Kiwis.
And what about you two? Why do you think the Olympics has a place in the world?
When I think the Olympics, I think back to dreaming as a kid of running in the 1500 metre final at the Olympics, but I didn't quite have the genetics to make it there. So I think it's just, for me personally, it's inspired me, to be a consumer of sport in every facet, and to live like an active and sporting lifestyle. So I think if we can get Kiwis active, whether it be in competitive sport, recreationally, and what sport brings, both from a social and physical domains, then I think for me that's hopefully what the Olympic movement is giving people.
Yeah, it does. It speaks. It's the shop window, and there's also the challenge of the Olympics as well. So you are talking to the people who drank the Kool-Aid and the champions of the Olympics and sport, but we are acutely aware. We would be remiss as academics, as educators, not to understand and appreciate and try to mitigate the harm that also does occur through sport and through Olympics as well. Doping and fraud, all of the evils, we know they exist, and we work hard to mitigate the impacts of it. Just really calling out a very exciting initiative by the New Zealand government. We've got an Integrity Commission just about to get up. Integrity Transition Program has got up into an Integrity Commission. Drug Free Sport New Zealand will fold into it. One of the Wahine Toa graduates, Rebecca Rolls, and Olympian, is heading that up. So New Zealand is working hard to try and mitigate, and as educationalists we also work hard to try to mitigate the harm. But coming back to the great things, the shiny things, to me it's the shop front, it's the inspiration, it's that incredible moment feeling you get when you see those Kiwis on the world stage doing those things. And to me it's not just about the winning, it's how they are on the world stage. So what they say afterwards, how they interact with the other athletes, who we are as a New Zealand team on the world stage, with po tangata, like those are the things that just give me goosebumps, and I've got them right now, look.
Well, it's about embodying those Olympic values, and I'll just end with you, Alexis, because those Olympic values of excellence, friendship and respect, those are things that 50-year-olds and 5-year-olds can relate to, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We've got this fantastic little program in New Zealand with the primary schools and intermediates where we go in and we speak about these values, and no matter what age you are, excellence, respect and friendship is something that is very important, and I think it's such a fantastic way to be.
Well, ngā mihi, it has been an absolute privilege to sit here with you all. I think we could keep talking for much, much longer, but I think it's fair to say that the Kiwi Olympic dream is alive and well, and the future looks very bright. So thank you all for your wisdom and for your insight, and let's all support the New Zealand team right in Paris in 2024, coming up very soon, and thank you for watching at home.